no green and no red again. Me and we a beard. You they a stoplight. They gonna watch here. Them dog live better than we them outrage.
People, we're back to the fixes. We're now here with Ari, and we have a senior member of Orange House in the building. But before we get to that, we have to say big ups to our sponsors. Daylight Ibiza Atelier the Chic happening October 21st. That's Heroes Day. Music by Chromatic, A-Team, Codeland, and Little Richie. You can follow them on Instagram at Daylight Ibiza or visit their website at daylightibiza.com for more info. Also, we have big up Cellcare JA, the very best. They offer the very best in electronics, repairs, and unlocking. You can visit them at their new location at Pristine Plaza, Shop 15, 15 Eastwood Park Road. Shout out Cellcare JA. As I said, people have a senior member of Orange House in the building. General Secretary of the PNP, Dr. Dayton Campbell. There we go. Bless up, sir.
Thanks for joining us today, sir.
Thanks for having me.
You had a very busy weekend, a very active Gaza weekend. I mean, that was the main news coming from your conference that you guys had at on Sunday.
There were several other highlights.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a busy weekend and we're in a busy week as well with what is going on.
Yes, I see. We're going to get right into all of that as much as we can, as long as you permit us the time. But let's talk about the conference that you guys just had. You had, we'll talk about the other players, Vybz Kartel, Chief Richard Curry, Isaac Buchanan, Popcorn, who you took a picture with. But just tell us some of the things that you guys wanted to achieve for that conference.
Right. So this is likely to be the last annual conference before the general elections.
Right.
The elections are due by September 3, 2025. And the conference is the third weekend of September. So this is likely to be the final conference before. So going into the conference, there were several objectives that we had. One, we wanted to have a good production. And I believe we had a first-class production. We wanted to mobilize properly. The police told me earlier that they think the crowd was over 50,000. So we think we achieved that.
Wow.
Wait,
did you have a goal in mind of the people?
I didn't expect that it would get that far.
Oh, wow, okay.
But they had to close the gates to the facility. So people had to be over on the road. I've never seen that before. I don't think that has ever happened before.
Wow.
It looked like a little birdie did make news travel about a certain artist being there, I think.
The people also want change.
Yeah.
Yes, right. So we're mobilized. And, you can... The crowd that you get is dependent on how much money you spend to mobilize, but the energy, the mood that they're in is not something that you can pay for. We think the people are in the right frame of mind, the right mood. Even at the end of the conference, people are still standing there. So that was good. Then we wanted to ensure that we had proper speeches and they stayed on message from the different presenters, and I thought we were able to achieve that. I thought Damien was in his element. Several of the speakers hit the main points that we wanted them to hit. And the party leader, I thought he gave what is called a tour de force. And so persons have been asking, what is it that the PNP will do? And I think he was able to outline that. So he spoke about constitution reform, he spoke about justice, spoke about education. Something like students' loan, that has been an issue that I've had concerns about from the time I left university. That education should not be a death sentence, but really and truly, poverty ought not to get the deciding vote about who can access tertiary level education. And he spoke about an income contingent repayment plan, and you only repay when you are employed, and there would be no penalties during the period when you're not employed, which I think is something that all young persons who are considering tertiary level education and funding through the student loan would appreciate. He spoke about crime and violence, going back to things like Unite for Change, Peace Management Initiative. He spoke about healthcare. How do we train some persons just to repair some of the machines? You'll be surprised that you go to some hospitals and the x-ray machine is not working. And if you had an engineer, that you could easily have a program with Cuba and train some of those engineers. So by the time it's just a simple thing to fix those machines. He spoke about education. Damien spoke about education as well. We only have 18% of the students that are passing 5 subjects to include math and English. That is unacceptable. That's what the US call a GED, I think. It's only 18%, less than one in 5. That is not a situation that we can allow to continue, because those members who are not achieving, they are going to be lured into other activities within the society. Spoke about agriculture, which is the area that I shadow. How do we make land available to people, make access available to get to the land, storage facilities, marketing, how do we infuse technology into it so that we don't have the middleman taking away the profits from the farmers who do the hard work, agro-processing and those things. So I thought, all in all, and of course, housing, which I think for most people, especially young people in Jamaica, they are concerned about.
You're not wrong.
About housing, because when you leave university or when you get to that age and you want to go out, most of the times when you get a job, the rent takes up majority of what you earn. And if you are to get a vehicle on top of that, you're pretty much living hand to mouth, 2 paychecks away from abject poverty. And so we have to ensure that we can make housing available to young people. The Prime Minister and this government, they have a social housing program. They have said the need that is out there, so 8,000 social houses. And they have a program that has delivered 300 houses over 8 years. Clearly, that is not adequate. And if you were to go by that mathematics, you wouldn't be able to reach 8,000 until about 200 years. It would take too long for you to get there. When you look at speak to any developer, when you look at what it takes to actually construct a 2-bedroom house, it's about $10-12 million, yet still they are being sold on the market for $30 million. Somebody has to step in to assist these young professionals and these young people who are coming out so they can have a proper roof above their head. And I think NHT as well. The funds from NHT that are going into the consolidated fund, that needs to stop. That was an emergency mechanism. We've come through that process now. That needs to stop, and NHT goes back to its mandate to offer loans to people who are contributors so they can build a home for themselves. So I say all of that to say the conference was a real success for us.
You say all of that, and it just seemed like the main thing from it is Vybz Kartel was there. So do you feel like the chief plans and messages were like it registered? Like you feel like it registered? Yes, you being there, and of course you being a part of the party, you thought that the messages were communicated well, but do you feel like they're registered past the noise?
Well, the first thing you need to get is the attention of people. When you're trying to communicate to persons, the first thing you need to have is their attention. And if you look at our conferences, normally when we have our conferences, you might get about 30,000 or 40,000 views. My assistant posted a video on TikTok that is over 200,000 views. So, people will...
Of what part of the conference?
She posted a part that Adidja Palmer, Vybz Kartel was at.
Well...
But that's what I'm saying. No, but I'm saying follow through with the point. You get their attention and then you communicate what you want.
Okay.
So you have to have people's attention first before you can communicate. So I'm just saying it would have brought the party's message further than it would have been otherwise.
But as he asked though, you've got the attention, but did you think the policies that the party wanted to achieve, were they outlined? And they were outlined, but was it registered? Like, you think the people get it?
It's not a one-off thing. It's not a one-off thing, because you're going to have persons who are saying, how are you going to pay for this? Persons are going to have different questions. And in answering the question about how do you pay for it, if persons understand how a budget is constructed, you have different elements to a budget. So you have some things that are mandatory. So you have to pay salaries, right? You have to pay your debt. And then after that, you have what is discretionary spending. We can spend on capital A projects, investment in infrastructure things. And then the rest of it that you can design and spend on agriculture and education and housing. And so your priorities as a government will determine how you spend that amount of money. I think about 400 billion out of the country's budget now is discretionary. So when people hear you make this proposal and they say how you're going to spend for it, it's just by changing what the priorities are. This government approaches things in a different way. From the economic approach, where they believe that if couple businesses are okay, it will trickle down and they will employ persons. We believe that you build it from the ground up, because the only thing you build from the top down is a grave, really. They are doing now is try and get businesses okay. If you run a business in Jamaica now, you're probably doing well. But if you're the average Jamaican, you're not doing so well, because inflation is up, food prices is up, and you see what is going on in healthcare, education, transportation. And the government has a penchant for celebrating themselves, even when they are not deserving of celebration. Take, for example, in 2016, when this government took office, they inherited JUTC with over 400 buses. They ran it down to about 100 and something. Then they got 100 new buses and they started celebrating.
How them run it down?
For the buses not to be serviced, not to function, not to repair them, not to add to the fleet in between and maintain the
but
fleet.
Wouldn't it be the operators of JUTC? Because JUTC are independent.
It's a government run. No, it's government run.
Government run, but separate from the executive branch of the government.
No, you have to take responsibility. It's government run.
Okay.
If they were to privatize it, then they would have nothing to do with it. But the JUTC currently is heavily subsidized by you, the taxpayers. And so when you're running it, it's the government that appoints the chairman and the managing and everything. And they ran it down, and then they got 100 bus and didn't get it back to the fleet that they inherited at about 3/4 the way, and they're celebrating. There's nothing to celebrate. Same thing with crime. When they took over, murders was at about 1,200. Of course, that is too high. So I'm not making any suggestion that that was acceptable, because that's 1,200 families that would have lost a loved one. But they ran it up to 1,600 plus murders per year.
When they said they ran it up,
hold on. Just let me finish. Under their management, it went up to 1,600.
Okay.
It has come back down now to 1,400, 1,500, and they're celebrating a 20% decrease. But it's a 20% decrease from the high that they brought it to, not a 20% decrease from where they inherited it. Right? So it is still about 20-25% higher than where they inherited it. That's nothing to celebrate. Now, you seem to take offense when I say that the government does this and government does that. So let us understand some things. In the country, you're going to have either the public sector, the private sector, things that are government run, things that are privately run. There are certain things in the country currently that are government run. Or schools, for the most part, are government run. You do have private schools, but you have the public schools, where the government determines how many people they employ, determines the remuneration of the staff, determine the quality of the facility, what is available, right? So if you have a hurricane come and you have damage to roof, and then we're going back to school, and the only thing that is repaired is the roof, but you don't repair the furniture, you don't ensure that teachers are there, that it's staffed properly, you don't ensure that there is a feeding program in place, because somebody that is hungry is going to use their energy to deal with that issue of sustenance. They're not going to deal with learning, right? And so the government has to play a significant role in these institutions that are run by the government. And it is the policy direction. That's what government is responsible for, the policy. So in the hospitals, if you don't focus on primary health care, which is what your grandmother said, prevention is better than cure. If you wait until it gets to the point where you need to go to a hospital, let's take sugar or diabetes, as you call it, or hypertension, high blood pressure. Most of those are lifestyle-related illnesses. It's based on your level of exercise. It's based on your diet and those other things. Of course, family history and those things also play a role, and if you smoke or not. But people that develop, so now if you can't buy a pound of sweet pepper or something like that, tomato for $1,000, you have to go with what you have. So most people just use starch, right? So you see a man just cook some dumpling and he eat it with whatever it is. He develops diabetes. That then causes a whole sequelae of things. Heart attack, stroke, kidney problem, vision problem, circulatory problem. They speak out kidney problems. And you need dialysis. You're at end-stage renal, where kidneys function is to remove waste from your body. That's not working, so somebody else, you have to use something else to remove it, or else it will build up and kill you. You become toxic. That process is called dialysis. It requires $15,000 2 times a week for you to get dialysis done. That's $30,000 for the week, $120,000 for the month. Minimum wage is $60,000 for the month. So essentially, somebody that is poor that develops end-stage kidney disease requiring dialysis is really just a death sentence. They have to pray that somebody that is on the machine dies so they can get onto it at the hospital. What if you had a government that really put the focus on community intervention and primary health care to prevent that person from getting there? And even for those persons who got there, you had organ transplant. So you could then give the person a new kidney so that they could get a fresh start at life. Because it's not sustainable for you to try and subsidize the dialysis, because based on the number of persons that are going to require dialysis, the entire health budget is going to just go towards that if you were to take that approach. So those are the things that I'm talking about. What the government does, what the government prioritizes, and the policy direction determines the output that we get.
True.
Why are you not
and I
the
mean,
shadow?
fair enough.
Am I not the shadow?
The shadow minister of Ministry of Health.
I was before.
So why not still?
I'm now in agriculture because if you can't feed yourself, then you're not gonna have good outcomes. And agriculture is actually the main employer of labor in Jamaica. You have 250,000 persons that are registered as farmers, and agriculture contributes 9% of the GDP. Obviously, that's disproportionate. Based on the number of laborers that it has, it should be contributing more than that. So agriculture is an area that I think can actually take people out of poverty. Let me give you an example, and maybe you can even start practicing this when you're not doing your show. If you were to gain access to land, arable land, that's land that's fertile and can grow things, right? And you were to have access to it, meaning there's a farm road. And say you had 5 acres and you were to plant carrots. To the cost of production, that means to do everything. To lease the land, which comes at about 10 or 20,000 per acre. To prepare the land, to plant, to weed it, to reap, everything. That takes 300,000 per acre. So you'd spend $1.5 million to plant 5 acres of carrot. When it is ready, the maturity is 3 months. So it takes 3 months for it to be ready. You're going to get a yield of about 15,000 pounds at the lower end per acre. So that's at least 75,000, right? 75,000 pounds that you get from your 5 acres. Currently, you can get a pound of carrot for $180. But let's just use $100 to make the math easy. That would be 7.5 million. You spent 1.5, you'd make 7.5 in 3 months. There's no other area in the society that will give you that return. But the reason people don't do it is because when we were growing up in community, especially those of us from rural Jamaica, we were taught that if you're successful, you left the community and went to university. And those that couldn't make it, they stayed back and they did farming. And the farmers we saw were persons that were on quarter acres. They went out to work with machete and hoe and pickaxe, and they came back dirty, and they didn't make any money because they didn't know where the market is. They didn't know how to protect themselves against predator larceny. They couldn't infuse technology, so they couldn't use a tractor on their field. And so we just have a negative connotation with agriculture. But I'm telling you that if you get 10 acres of arable land and go into production of carrot, Irish, sweet pepper, hot pepper, any one of these things that are called cash crops, that you'll be a much richer man next year this time.
You them not seeing out no farmer escape on the tour with them bees.
No, they're not seeing them, but stop for a second and think about it. The richest people in Jamaica, who own True Juice, who own JP Farms, all of these things.
Them. Oh, okay.
The richest people in the country, all of them do some form of farming. Yeah.
That's true.
Think back of when, well, maybe skating on the toll is not a good thing. Think back of when you were growing up and you were looking at great houses.
Tell that to the youth.
Think back when you were growing up and you were thinking of great houses, right? What did all of them have? A house that is somewhere on a hill that is surrounded by a farm.
Those are colonial.
Yeah, but it says to you that these people, even if you
it's a white man.
Even if you look in the Bible, now I'm not talking about their race. I'm talking about what they did. Right?
No, but that's our plantation.
Yeah, but I'm saying
society
that
the person
that had control is the person that was the farmer. That's what I'm saying. Look back in the Bible. When they're describing riches in the Bible, how did they describe it? How many heads of cattle? Heads of this? How many heads of that the person owned?
They were the overseers. We were the farmers. We never get paid.
No, and then so that's a different discussion. And if you're looking at that, I'm not suggesting that people should go into subsistence farming. I'm not suggesting that people should go into farming in things that are labor intensive without infusing technology either. So you have different modern ways that you have to adapt to, right? So you have hydroponics, you have aquaponics, you have different things that you can do. In a similar way, if you were to get a quarter acre piece of land, so you're in Kingston in an urban setting and you can't get 5 acres of land, you could get a quarter acre piece of land. You could set up a hydroponic system that could have about 15,000 plants on it. If you were to go cabbage on that, if each one of them comes to 2 pounds, you're talking about 30,000 pounds of cabbage every 2.5 months. You can get cabbage sold currently for at least $300 a pound. So you're talking about $9 million every 2.5 months, right here in an urban setting. So it just depends on you being exposed to the areas and what is available. But agriculture is an area that we will always need. They estimate that we have about 7, 8, going towards 8 billion people on the planet now.
8 billion.
In a couple of years' time, we're going to need to feed 10 billion. So agriculture, there will always be a need for agriculture.
I mean, I believe that too. But I just want to backtrack a little bit because, you said that especially the Ministry of Health, Dr. Tufton, he has worked on communicating, lifestyle changes. He has the Jamaica Move program. So that's a key point or a key policy change that the Ministry of Health is making. But even that to where you're the shadow minister of agriculture and land, like, have you thought about ways that you can communicate better these changes to ensure, I guess, to encourage young people to vote? Because that's another thing, you have the plans and you can tell them, but have you thought about
so that's a part of the political cycle that we're in now, in communicating these things. And that's the reason why I'm on a platform like yours, so we can reach out to different persons. Most of the time people don't listen to the political conferences, and we do not determine what is carried from the political conference. So if there's a topical issue, so there was the murder of 8 people down in Clarendon, and you're at the conference and you speak for half hour. If you spend 30 seconds to speak about that, that is what the news is going to carry. And then people say, well, you're only negative, you're only criticizing, you're not putting forward anything. You could have put forward 25 minutes of proposals and nobody heard it unless they were watching the conference, because that's not what the media carries. And somebody in the media said to me that dog biting man is not news, but man biting dog is news. So they look for the outrageous things to carry.
True.
Right? So that communication is a core competence in politics now. And we understand the need that you have to express these things to people so they can understand what the proposals are. They can interrogate them and see if they make sense. And then they can make informed decisions. In terms of what the Minister of Health is doing, Jamaica Moves is a good initiative. It's not in and of itself all that is needed. Take, for example, we have to have a proper screening program. If we don't have a proper screening program, then what we're doing is an exercise in futility. Because currently you have about 20% of the population that's hypertensive and diabetic without knowing that they are. Therefore, they can't seek treatment. Right? So I believe that we should have a national insurance program where on your birthday, the week before and the week after, just as though you'd have to go to FLA or somewhere or go and FLA, let's use that, because you have to do that annually to renew your firearm license. In a similar way, you should be able to go to a health center every year to renew your health insurance, but you'd have to get your pressure check, your sugar check, your urine check, and all of the screening that you need. A woman of certain age would get her mammogram done. Somebody else, if they have history, would get the prostate check, the colon check, and those other things.
That would be the government and the government's coffers, like.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it would be.
Because people do that. People get their annual checkup.
Yeah, but the same thing we're talking about. Those who are informed would do it, but the majority of the public who is not informed, especially males who don't like to go to doctors, and especially prostate, because one of the check is a digital check. They're not going to do that, but you have different ways of doing it. You can check blood for PSA, prostate-specific antigen.
Okay.
That could tell you if it's within a certain range. And
so you don't have to do the finger method anymore?
You don't have to.
Guys.
There are other ways that you can check these things.
Okay.
But most of the time when a man gets to hospital is when it's really bad.
Yeah, then that's true. What are some of the things that you change in agriculture now? Like what are some of the issues?
Right, so I said some of it before. One, you have to make land available to people. So most people now in Jamaica, about 80% of the farms in Jamaica now are 5 hectares or less, which is about 12.5 acres. So that's the first thing. We have to make land available to the people. 2, irrigation. Only 12% of what is called arable land in Jamaica currently has irrigation.
Which is water, right? Access to water.
And you're going to have difficulty if you're in certain areas without irrigation. Right. So that's 2. Then 3, when the person's land preparation, a lot of people don't have access to the equipment that you need to plow and do that. So if they're going to rely on fork and pickaxe and those things, obviously you're not going to do any major farming. Then pray their last thing. When the person has planted, they want to ensure that somebody doesn't come and reap where they did not sow. So I think that has to be brought under the Proceeds of Crime Act to ensure that whenever somebody is caught with the produce of a farmer, that you can go and sell those things and give back the money to the farmer so they can restart their thing.
Right? Okay.
And then when you're finished with that, now you're talking about how do you infuse technology into planting the thing, into reaping the thing, and then storage. Our post-harvest loss in Jamaica is over 20%, approaching 30%. meaning you've finished and you've reaped, you've harvested your thing, but you then lose it because there isn't proper storage facility. You could easily go with refrigerated containers that are solarized. We're in a tropical setting, and you get a 40-foot container, can hold about 30 to 40 tons of anything that you want. You put a solar panel on it, a setup that about $1 million, and that can keep the facility going and sustain it. So that's another issue. Or do you infuse technology? So a farmer in St. Elizabeth plants melon. Somebody goes there and buy the melon for them at $60 a pound. Carries it and sells it to somebody in Kingston. You go in Price Mart, it's $180 a pound. If that farmer was able to get directly in touch with Price Mart, then it maybe could have gotten $100 or $120 for the melon.
To the consumers?
No, the farmer would have sold
it for $180. Okay.
I can't determine. The market's going to determine what the final distributor sells it for. But if there was technology that could put the farmer in touch with the final distributor, whether it's a hotel, a supermarket, or wherever it is, then obviously they'll be able to get a better deal for their produce. And it's the same thing in relation to going to newer technology. So hydroponics can deal with your leafy vegetables and those other things. So broccoli, lettuce, cabbage, and those other things, you can easily grow them in a hydroponic system, or you can grow that whether you're in rural or urban settings, you can use that. Livestock is a similar thing. If you have a farm with 10 goats, you can make about 500,000 per year, and then you can just move that. So if you have 100 goats, you can make 5 million. You have 1,000 goats, you can make 50 million. So, and then you have different ways of doing it. So you have non-grazing, where you can just keep them in an intensive setting, and you grow the grass and take it to them, you shave and bring it to them, or you can keep them where you have the land and you put them out on it to feed and then carry them in. But I just think, for our people don't know. No. Right? If you have 50 colonies of bee, you can make over $2 million, almost $3 million per year. And that doesn't take a lot of space for you to have 50 colonies of bee. But the information is just not known to people, and therefore we don't have a lot of people participating in the industry. People go out there, they spend 4 years, 3 years, 4 years in university, leave, get a work in a call center that is paying them just above the minimum wage. They live in hand to mouth, and they think that they're making it when somebody else is planting an acre of yam and making a couple $1 million for the year. I guess probably that
the perception of changing has to change.
That's the first
farming has to change.
That's the first thing that we have to change.
Yeah, definitely.
Is the perception.
Someone we need to make beekeeping cool. Beekeeping don't sound cool. Yeah. It just don't sound cool to not keep them out. It should be. You know what I mean? But I want to rewind to your comments about the media. It won't seem like you have a frosty relationship with the media. How do you describe it?
I love the media.
No, I think you do.
At least with traditional media.
No, I think he does love the media.
I love the media. There are persons in the media that don't love me. I don't know what's going on with the love. But I love the media.
A couple of years ago, there was like a little back and forth with Nationwide News. Well, you call them the incubator for the Jamaica Labour Party.
Is a special example. I mean, if you're looking at what took place at Nationwide in this past week here, where they tried to convince the country that the Prime Minister was being investigated over 4 accounts containing $384,000. When you saw the report yesterday, you saw that it was much more than that.
Wait, you said that they were trying to convince?
Yes, they were.
That it was just 4?
Yes, they were. There's that breaking story to say that this is what it was about. And I went on and I said, I believe that there are persons there whose reputation precede them, that they would not have been investigating a Prime Minister of a country for 3 years over 4 accounts belonging to his parents containing 384. That did not make any sense at all, because any of us could go and get that information from a bank. I mean, an institution like Integrity Commission could get that information from a bank within a matter of days about the transactions surrounding that. So it could not have been about that. Now we're seeing that there were 3 companies and there were $470 million moving between them. There are issues surrounding payment of taxes. There are issues surrounding recommendation to go further for investigation about conflict of interest and all of these other things. So the issues that I have is with media houses when they don't play their role, because the media is a fourth estate. The media is important in maintaining a democratic society.
That is true.
I don't want the media to necessarily just be kind to me, and I want the media to be honest. So there are times that I'm going to get a hit because there are times when I deserve to get a hit. Because there are times that I say things that are, even myself, I think I said, well, you could have said that more eloquently.
There's been some examples of that, Dr. Campbell.
No, I wouldn't dare do that.
Oh my God.
There's been some examples over the years.
That's so nice. Self-awareness. Love it. Yeah.
You say like you've taken a check of yourself and probably appreciate you need to curb back.
But you just think that the media should be honest.
People watching this interview are going to be surprised because a lot of people think that I'm just a loud mouth on a political platform. Every time I sit down and do an interview, they're like, oh, actually have sense, man. But
well, I would hope that you are as a medical doctor and a person who holds a law degree. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So, obviously, I would have some sense.
Yeah. But you know what it is? I think that because even so many parts I was listening, like I was trying to do as much research as I possibly could, and in a I think it was a 2020 article with the Gleaner, like many of your own colleagues think that your utterances is too loose in speech. That was what was said. Like you're too loose in speech after running into trouble for utterances on the political hustings. You have
to ask though if the comments that I make are honest and they're accurate.
It's 2 or 3 defamation lawsuits against one against Dr. Charles and Robertson.
It only means something if it's successful.
Right.
Anybody can sue anybody. It only means something if it's successful. So somebody getting up to say I'm suing him could be that they want to keep you quiet.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that what you've said is defamatory. So defamation can be written or it can be spoken word. So slander is a spoken word, libel is a written thing. Right. So I get out there and I say something, somebody can say, no man, this man has defamed me. And he can then decide to sue. No, there are defenses, right? The first one is truth. Right. So if what you've said is true, no matter how it sounds, right? It could be defamatory, but there's a defense for it because it is the truth. So if I see that man over there stealing some pads of Aki, and I go on the platform and say, well, I know that I'm on the thief Aki.
Yeah.
I can say, well, you're defaming me because you're calling me a thief. But if it is true, he cannot win the suit.
Of course. And I mean.
So I'm just saying that the fact that somebody has sued does not mean
so you're saying you're waiting until the judgment is issued to consider if it's defamatory or not?
If I file my defense, I don't think it is.
You don't think it is?
Where is it right now, that lawsuit with Vybz?
Right.
I think the last thing is that it was referred to case management.
Right. And I mean Dr. Charles too, because Dr.
Charles didn't sue me.
No, she was asking for an apology, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense though. I want for you to interrogate that matter.
Okay.
What I said is that in law, in Jamaica, you are not allowed to run for office if you are a dual citizen with a non-Commonwealth country. We've established that. 2, I asked the question whether or not she was a US citizen. She has said on her X platform that she was. She was a practicing dentist in the States.
Okay.
And then I said, on the record that the US published, where you can go and see persons who have renounced their citizenship, that her name does not appear on the list. And I said, if you have, then please point us to it and say when you did so. She has not been able to do that. So you have to understand the politics of it. People are going to come and threaten the lawsuit because they want you to stop pursuing a point.
Okay.
Because it is damaging to them, not defamatory. It is damaging to them. And I would encourage all of you and who persons who are watching.
Maybe she wasn't on it anyway.
To go and look to see if they see her name there.
Maybe she wasn't on it any at all.
Which would mean what?
That she probably lied in the first instance, that's what you're saying.
So then I wouldn't be the bad person. She would be. So that's what I'm saying. You can't just take the fact that somebody said that they're going to sue to conclude on it.
But what about Daryl Vazo, where you kind of like you repeated, I guess, rumors about the murder.
Here's in the court. From where I grew up, we here's in the court.
True.
I never said nothing about Daryl. I don't want to go into that matter because the matter is obviously thing.
Right.
But I never accused him of anything.
Okay.
I didn't.
No. You just repeated utterances.
No, man. I was making a presentation.
Yeah.
Right? And in making my presentation, right, as I said, I don't want to go into that matter.
Fair. No problem.
The presentation itself. Well, speaking about defamation lawsuit, you recently win one couple months ago.
Against Karen Cross.
Not one, three.
Three. Yes, three.
So that's what I mean.
I know say you want it dead and thing, but how did you feel in 2021 when it was first when the lawsuit first came about, that
no, the utterances.
Well, the utterances about you. Did you feel like your political career would have been in ruin because the court of public opinion, them things and how it stay in regards to matters of that kind?
I'm a fighter. I'm not going to be. They're not going to get rid of me that easy from this space. I know my limitations. I know what I'm good at. I know what I bring to the table, and I don't have any form of insecurity. So I'm not an individual that gets up today and just somebody says and it deters me. If that's what I did, I wouldn't be where I am today. I came from the bowels of society. I had to fight to be here. I had to believe in myself. I had to be confident. And so I haven't lost those things. Some people look at it at times and they say it's arrogant. It's not arrogance at all. If you stay around me for a day, you're probably thinking, this guy's so simple, right? Unassuming and thing, and very mannerable, right? But, so when that took place, I thought it was evil and wicked.
Yes.
Right? Because in the political space, we do things that we take political jabs at each other.
Right.
I thought that was something that was designed to destroy my life. Not my political career, my life.
Yeah, essentially, that's a matter of how frightened were you. Yeah.
I think that was evil and wicked. And I was the one that referred the matter to the police.
Right.
They didn't. I was the one that sent the matter to the police. When the police checked everything, they couldn't find anything because that has never been the case. We are in a very competitive political space. I won 2 elections, I know people like to trouble me that I lost one in 2020, but I actually won 2.
Yeah, he's a 2-term MP.
Yeah, I did. I won 2.
Saint Anne.
What have you done for me lately?
And that issue never came up because it is not true. There's never been a person that has made that accusation against me. This was just somebody who was saying it. There's never been somebody that came forward and said, I was this or that. That has never been the case because there is no such person. No. When that came up, people ran with it. Because that's how people are in this country. They if they don't like you especially, they want to believe something negative about you. Right? That's how we are as a people. If we don't like you...
Well, I don't think it's as a people. I think with the case, in the matter of this case, is that when they hear... That's a matter about the court of public opinion. Automatically, when people hear about underage this, underage that, it's it's like just the thought of it, people are going to cast, the bad guy label on...
Sure, but I just ask people to be objective. Because what I say to people, remember that you have brothers, you have sons, you have husbands, you have father, right? And if you're going to allow somebody just to come up with this thing that they fabricate and then you're going to convict the person, even in the face that there is no evidence to suggest that, then you have to be mindful of the precedents that you are setting.
That's true.
Because it will come back to affect somebody that are attached to and love. Right? And I thought it was wicked, as I said, because in my medical practice, it will obviously affect me.
Yeah.
Right.
I've spoken on several occasions about where I come from. The fact that, I have kids too, right? They are going to school. People are seeing these things. Yeah. Right? I remember one night, I was speaking to my mother and I could hear it, that she was shaken by this thing.
Wow.
That to me has been the worst moment of my life when I heard her in that state. Because I was like, why this woman works hard to send me go to school and everything. And I completed med school at about 24. And, people proud of you to say, boy, as all people that say you hold up your head. And here I come in this thing trying to help my country by serving. Because I could have leave like Nigel, Me leave like Nigel because I make a whole heap of money, right? I'm just saying.
Well, it's never too late. It's never too late. Valenita is leaving, so it's horrible here.
And this is another side thing that I take. But whoever me here talk about that, it always come with that tinge of bad mind. I say, if I could have would
you don't come with no bad mind. Hear this. An orthopedic surgeon in Jamaica earns 12 million. Minister of Finance earns 24, 2 times. Nigel is going to earn 431,000 US per year. The orthopedic surgeon would earn 800, 2 times. So when you're in a space, if you're a teacher, the head of it is becoming principal. So people aspire to things. I could have decided I wanted to be a consultant at Mayo Clinic or at Harvard or wherever it is and pursue that end. But we decided to stay. And I decided to stay because when you come from where I come from, then you want, having made it, there's some of us who have this fire inside to try and give others that opportunity. Because I know people that I grew up with that are nowhere near being successful, right? And you see them. I know people that were brighter than me in school, that were more talented in playing sports. And they started smoking, they got involved in the wrong company, I just see them
waste away.
Wayside. And so you decide that you want to stay and you want to do this. So when we say it is to communicate the point that our commitment is to Jamaica and not just our individual ambition. So I don't, as a person, I don't have an issue with Dr. Clark. Honestly, I don't. I've never had a bad experience with him. Actually, I think Dr. Clark is a good man. And I'm willing to say that.
Well, we met him. He's cool.
Actually, no, I'm telling you, actually, I think he's a good man. Right? In the politics, you're going to make the political points. Right? But as an individual, I'm happy for him and the progress that he's making in his personal life. I don't have any issues.
I might just end up at the country, though.
So there's a bad man in it. But he probably should have stayed and you know, continue the work that he's
You wouldn't
doing.
have taken that job there, Dr. Campbell.
What job?
You wouldn't have taken that job.
The job at the
if you were offered,
if you were offered it.
No.
Really?
Me not believe
Me
that.
not believe
Because
it.
me
I
would
don't
have
believe
taken
it,
No, but
anybody would.
I'm saying to you that
Why you wouldn't take it?
because that's not my desire. If I wanted to leave Jamaica, when I finished med school, I would have left from in my 20s. And I would have been practicing medicine in the States. I'd have been a rich man now. I'd be looking to come home now. And when I come in politics now, people wouldn't try them things with me that them are trying. Because when I come with my money, you understand? Me that skate on the toll as well, right? They wouldn't try them things with me. Right? But now because a poor black boy from country, they try certain things because, you know, have that financial backing. So that was never my desire. Right? I can't imagine waking up and have to go to work when snow block up your driveway and them things. That's just not my idea. Right? I stay right here in Jamaica where I can comfortable and be a first-class citizen. And I like a second-class citizen thing.
True. But then I wanted to go back a little bit about the lawsuit that you were fighting. You said that your mom, but even to us thinking with the lawsuit that you won and the pending lawsuits, have you ever thought about probably maybe curtailing your utterances? I probably cool it down, temper it, and don't try to get into the whole politicking. I feel like because when it's too far. Because Karen could have just be like, it's just politics.
I think I have. No, I don't think that is just politics.
Well, that's according to her.
No,
that's what I'm
a
saying.
Criminal accusation that
Right.
you're making. That's not just politics.
That's true.
That's politics.
That's true.
I don't put it this way. You know, it's funny that even Daryl would have done that. Because Daryl and I are somebody that we had been at several occasions at places together, you know, down in Centre and thing, when him cover Centre and them thing. And I hang out and quite easy, cool and comfortable. I didn't get up with any mens rea, the mind to be malicious and defamatory towards him. I didn't. You understand? In the cut and thrust of politics, as I said, and I still don't think, and I think I proved my case that that was not my intention. So I don't think I do that. I think you have to understand how politics works, though. That there are a lot of people who don't want somebody who is frank to speak, right? Because people as well don't want you to highlight what is negative, you know. Right? So most of those things that you spoke about, if you interrogate what I've said, when I was shadowing health, for example, I mean, Tufton must have thought that, good God, what is wrong with this young man, right? But I didn't, every time when they checked something that I said, it turned out to be true. The other day when I came out and said, if the Prime Minister cannot be certified, I am led to believe that he is one of them that is under investigation for illicit enrichment, and I dare him to sue me. Nationwide made a big deal over it. Boy, you know what? But here's the report. Because logics, right? If the person cannot be certified for 3 years, it must mean that the person is being investigated. What else would delay the certification of the person, right? So it was obvious that is what was going on, despite him lying to the country that he wasn't aware of anybody and he just checked far and wide. It was obvious that he was one of them.
But would the investigators, though, if you're being investigated, would you be told that you're being investigated?
You're told at a point.
At a point.
It's not different from anything else.
Right.
If somebody were to go to the police station and say you did whatever to them, the first thing is that they would have to find the victim, right? And they would have to get a statement for the process to move forward.
Right.
People say prima facie case. You have to at least determine that on the face of it, there's a case here.
Right.
They do some checks. The police don't arrest people who they are arresting for murder or those other things just by somebody going there and say, I think it's John Brown murdered them. They collect some evidence first. So when they bring you in, right? They have sufficient evidence to at least charge you. Right? So it is a similar thing. It's an interrogation of what you submit to the Integrity Commission, of your assets, your income, your liability. If there's disproportionality between them, then that would trigger an investigation. Then they will collect some statements, I'm assuming, and then they will bring you in. What the evidence has shown from the report is that the Prime Minister was written to on May 5, 2023. The statement by the Prime Minister that he has checked far and wide is August 18, 2023. Right, so it's 3 months later. Now, he was written to say that the matter is under investigation in May. Right? I'm sure his thing is going to be that he wasn't told investigation for what. But I'm saying, how could they write to me say you're being investigated and I don't ask you for what?
For what? Right.
Is
That's
the PNP serious in their cause for him to step down due to these discrepancies?
But then, according to the IC, the Integrity Commission, the Director of Investigation at the IC, Kevin Stevenson, recommended that his investigation be referred to the Director of Corruption Prosecution, Keisha Prince Kamika, but she said in her ruling there was insufficient evidence on file to establish that the Prime Minister, by way of omission, made a false statement in his statutory declaration for the period ending of December 31st, 2021. So as relates to his 4 BNS savings account. So according to the Director of the Corruption Prosecution, she is unable to say, or she's able to go forward. So even with the director saying that the PNP is still resolute in its ask.
You do realize though that is specific to 4 accounts.
Okay.
The 4 accounts that Nationwide spoke about,
right,
that he owned with his parent.
Right.
But you do realize that the same report spoke to several other things.
Right.
So the office of Prime Minister is one that has to be above reproach.
Right.
The Prime Minister of a country cannot just come out and lie to the country. I just spoke to it. He was asked on the 18th, because when this thing came out in the report, it came out in the annual report of the Integrity Commission, that there were parliamentarians on the investigation for illicit enrichment. 6. The PNP is like, whoa, what's going on here? Because illicit enrichment is a serious crime.
Yeah.
So we are like, no man, let's ask our members. And the party leader, Mark Golding, asked them individually, how are you on the investigation?
He asked you?
Told. No, I'm not a parliamentarian.
Oh, okay.
Right? So he asked them individually, and persons responded, no, I am not. We published that. The media rightfully asked the Prime Minister, what about your side? The Prime Minister said on the 18th of August, 2023, that I've checked far and wide. Apparently, he didn't check near, right? Because it turned out that he was written 3 months before.
Yeah.
No, in that setting, the Prime Minister has lost the public's trust and confidence because you don't know what else to believe.
You're right.
Right? So that's 1. 2, the Prime Minister is still not certified after 3 years. 3, the Prime Minister is under investigation for illicit enrichment, and the matter, his investigation was not completed. The report says that they were not able to get all the information. I think they're asking for his expenditure and he refused to give it. And they have referred the matter to the FID. No, I don't know of any other country where Prime Minister of a country can be under investigation for financial irregularities like that and still stay in office.
USA, Trump.
Not
no, man, he's not in office.
No, right? Well, he was in tax return on an audit.
Right?
Well, so, he was.
And that's not a good example. Let's not call on examples that are not good. Right? And then there are 400 million moving through 3 companies. The companies are giving loans, they're doing other things. And the IC is saying, hey, this was reported as nil returns.
Okay.
Nil return is normally when a company doesn't do any operation, I think, versus nil profit when you operate but you didn't make anything. So they're saying, they're referring it to TAJ to see whether or not there are issues surrounding the Prime Minister paying his taxes.
Right.
And do remember, this is in the context that the Prime Minister previously had a company in St. Lucia, which is a tax haven, so he wasn't paying any. Right? So that issue is there as well. When you and I are being burdened by, you look at your pay stub? If you look at it, you see your taxes that you pay?
Yeah.
That's what runs the country. You know?
Yeah, I know.
Outside of loans and grants, it's taxes run the country. We are paying it, and the Prime Minister should pay his fair share. So we are interested to see that he's paying his fair share. Let me not conclude on the matter one, matter to be interrogated to see. Then there is the issue of the Prime Minister having a charity, which was used to buy a bond, and the interest payment from that bond was paid to the Prime Minister. It was when the matter was being investigated in this year that the Prime Minister said, oh no, it was wrongfully attributed to me, but all the payments were already made to it.
Okay.
Right, so that is it. And then there's the issue of the conflict of interest.
Right.
Like your business partner, you put as the chairman of 2 major entities in the country, UDC and HAJ, right, which falls under your ministry, your portfolio responsibility. In no self-respecting country would somebody stay in office under those.
So let me ask you this: the reports also, at least there was reports to the Integrity Commission that there are 5 PNP members that are being investigated.
5 politicians, right?
For this crime, essentially. So you think they should step down?
Well, again,
from their posts?
Again, we are not aware of that. What we go by is not by what media houses put out, which can be...
Is the Integrity Commission.
All right. There's a body that is in place to interrogate. So there are 2 ways I think this matter can come up for them. From an interrogation of your declaration, which everybody that is paid above a certain amount by the government has to submit, right? They look at what you earn, they look at what you own, right? And they see and what your liabilities are, and they see if there's any disproportionality between them. That can trigger an investigation. That is what is referred to when they say there are 8 parliamentarians under investigation. It's from that. Now an individual can get up and say, no, so the brother over there, so own our house there, so, and just report you. Which would be just a malicious act. It could be a malicious act by somebody just trying to muddy the water. It could be, right? How would somebody know what I submitted? How would somebody know what I submitted on my declaration? That's why the Observer story said that they were not supported by any document. So literally somebody just got up and said that these persons are doing this and that. We're not, if the Integrity Commission comes forward and said that there are 5 members from our side that are, well, they wouldn't say that because they can't speak on the investigation. But if they come forward to say that that number has increased, we will again ask our members if they've been contacted, that they're under investigation. But remember that thing that came out, the Integrity Commission also put out something to say that it was false. Where they had named a few of our members, they also put.
They said that it can't say because and it needs to be.
No, it said it was false.
When was it?
Last week. They put out something that they called 3 or 4 members' name, and the Integrity Commission put out something to say that it was false.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
We're not trying to shield. The idea here, now, one person to understand what we said. We're not trying to shield anybody. To be frank, in our call, we never said that these persons should step down, because we do not have impeachment procedure in Jamaica, right? The leader, Mark Golding, actually tabled that after the Judge Wright incident, and the bill is still on the table. They have not debated it. So we don't have that. So we were not saying that these people should leave the parliament. The issue why we said we wanted them to be known is for them to recluse themselves, because there are currently 2 committees that are examining the Integrity Commission Act. Now, somebody that is under investigation, that is actually a part of a committee reviewing the act, might change the act based on what they are being investigated for. The Prime Minister said something that's very dangerous, that there needs to be an overhaul of the Integrity Commission. Now, how can somebody... You just get this report about an individual, and he's saying that we need to change up this Integrity Commission.
But Mark Golding support that. We spoke to Mark Golding, and he said that
in the face of this report coming against you, you can't just get up and say you want to change this. And there's something that Jamaica should know. All the commissioners that are at the Integrity Commission now were appointed under this government. Because people are making it sound like there is some relationship between the PNP and who is at the Integrity Commission. All the commissioners that are there were appointed under this government. I think it came into being in 2018. They have been in power since 2016. All the senior members of staff there were employed whilst the JLP is in government.
But would their political...
No, I'm just saying that, but I'm saying the PNP had nothing to do with it, is the point I'm making.
But it shouldn't be a political post, that's the point.
No, it's not a political post. And I'm not saying it is a political post. The point I'm making is that the PNP had nothing to do with it. We were not in office. We had nothing to do with it.
But when you make it seem like that, sir, it seems as if the government and the Prime Minister or the parliamentarians themselves were the ones to do the HR process and hire these people.
That's not what I'm saying. You're misunderstanding me. I'm making the point that people are making it sound as if these people are somehow carrying out an agenda for the PNP. And I'm saying that could not be so. Because when they came to being in the position that they are, we were in opposition. We had nothing to do with them getting to where they are. So that could not be so. That's the point I'm making.
Okay. All right, fair.
Rewind back to the conference itself.
Yes.
Whose idea was it to bring Vybz Kartel to it?
That shall remain undisclosed.
How long in advance did you know he was going to come?
Because it didn't seem like you didn't want to know, at least when you were questioned about it, that, you know, it's a possibility. It seemed like you were playing coy at the time of him being at the conference.
Well,
you know before?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Well,
So whose call was it?
let's understand something here, right? A political party having a public session of their conference is something that is open to everybody who identifies with the ideology and the policies of that political party. So all Jamaicans who associate with that are welcome. That's one. Two, we are a party that believes that we must transform a society. In transforming a society, we do not believe you can leave anyone behind. We therefore think you have to engage everyone in the society. If we agree that Vybz Kartel has influence, right, then let us determine two things. How far does his influence reach, and in what direction does his influence go? I think we all will agree that his influence is far-reaching.
Yes. Facts.
Therefore, a political party must seek to build a relationship with everyone that has that level of influence so you can have a say in the direction of the influence. There is no greater person to come and say to the young people of Jamaica, stay out of trouble, stay away from crime and violence than Vybz Kartel. Nobody else has that impact to say that. And that is what you want to do. I think Vybz Kartel should be a part of our Unite for Change and the Peace Management Initiative, speaking to these youngsters. When he came out of prison, he said that prison is hell. Stay out of trouble. Those were the words he said, you know.
He says people
I listened to Sean Storm. And Sean Storm said, prison enough in nobody, not even respect you to get a prison. Now, as a man that grew up in the church, I know that when we are giving testimony, the best testimony is not from the person who read about something. The best testimony is from the person who has lived something, who can come and say to you, stay outside of this because this is the likely outcome. So I don't have an issue engaging these persons. I have a question for those who think that they shouldn't be engaged. Should you leave him out there for that influence to be wayward? What kind of society do we build if we leave these persons of tremendous influence without engaging them to at least have a say in the direction
Cliff
of their
attack. Yeah.
And others.
Did you expect the backlash? Did you expect this reaction?
I mean, it depends though, you know. When you say backlash, I want you to know that the few voices don't necessarily mean it is the majority of the voices.
Yeah, that's true.
Because when I checked, which I did, I actually called our candidates, at least one in every parish. And when I checked, you have a certain group of persons who find it reprehensible. And then you have an overwhelming majority of persons who are agog. They are excited about it. Right? So my issue with the persons that find it reprehensible, as I said, my simple issue is, how do we treat with the correctional facilities? Is it that we're saying that when somebody becomes convicted, that there is no redemption for that person? Because the only way you're going to decrease the rate of recidivism, repeat offenders, is by engaging and reforming people. And if the prison system doesn't reform people and it turns out harder criminals, we're having a problem. So we need, and as far as I'm concerned, Vybz Kartel matter he was acquitted, you know. So I don't know on what basis we should not engage these persons. I want to engage Vybz Kartel. I want to engage Popcorn. I want to engage Spice. I want to engage any one of these persons. Similar way to how Valiant was on stage with stuff done up in his constituency. Right?
That was because him lick him off a bike.
Oh, so it's okay for him to pay him back by being on the stage.
I mean, you know, quid pro quo. I won't file charges, come to my face. That's literally
no, man. But the society, I'm not talking about how he got there. The society did not respond to him being on stage with Tufton as a negative.
Well, Valiant is different from a Vybz Kartel, which you would have to admit, Dr.
No,
Campbell, who has a criminal past in regards to, you know, being convicted.
What's his conviction?
Of course, Convicted is that he was convicted for murder.
No, man, but when it is over, you know what the reason why you have different layers of court?
Mm-hmm.
If the first court makes a decision and the appeal court overturn it, it is like it did not happen, you know.
Okay.
You can't continue to treat the person like it happened. And if that doesn't work and they go to the Privy Council, it's overturned there. It's like you're restoring the person.
You are correct, Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
but in the eyes of many, it happened. So
Well,
it's like you can't
I'm so
just,
happy that
you
those-
can't just drop a men in black thing and just...
No, man, I'm so happy
happy
that those persons aren't Jesus. Because all have sinned and fallen short of the
You're not
glory.
wrong.
Right? And
Okay, Pastor Campbell.
I am happy.
Church roots.
No, I'm serious. There is a serious conversation that must be had in Jamaica about how we treat with these facilities, the correctional facilities, what is Ninja Man is writing from behind bars about it. How do we change the life trajectory of the youngsters that go in there to ensure? When I listen to Vybz Kartel and him saying thinking that got dead in a prison, right? I don't think he wants to go back there.
No.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. And I think as a society, we need to engage him for him to use his influence for good.
I think
the
the biggest grouse people have with it is that they still see him as that person that was convicted and who them hear do all these things. So when them see a political, party parading him around in their mind at a conference for political points, it turn people the wrong way. That's how some people see it.
But my question though is that, I wanted to ask, like, Kartel wasn't necessarily a politically engaged person prior to his conviction in 2014, 2013, where it was, because I don't recall him being ever at a conference. So, like, really and truly, what was the point? Like, what changed? Like, why was he engaged to support it? No. Support the PNP or be at the conference? No.
In Romans, in the Bible, it speaks to be ye renewed through the transforming of your mind. As human beings, we go through transformation, we go through change. Right? Saul was on his way to convict Christians, and then he had his Damascus moment, and Saul became one of the greatest preachers.
So what you said, Kartel was a JLP
change.
first?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that
in regards
people
to his
can change.
Yeah.
People can come to a point in life. If not, then Christianity and those things wouldn't make sense. People can change.
Of course.
I am a believer in people.
Yeah.
I refuse to give up on people. No matter what people think of them, I refuse to give up on people. I am willing to engage persons within the society to see how we can use whatever influence they have for good. Vybz Kartel was represented by the President of the Senate, the Jamaica Labour Party Senator Tom Tavares Finson.
Facts.
When he was convicted, that was his lawyer. When the man is out of prison, it is a problem. When the conviction has been squashed, no. I don't understand. Bobby Montague.
That was never my question.
Bobby
It's just like, why engage him now?
Bobby Montague invited Ninja Man when he was charged for murder and out on bail to a motivational session for police. So I don't understand. I sat there watching Nationwide reporting on the Integrity Commission report, knowing that it's breaking section 53 and 56 of the law, and didn't have an issue with it. They said, what do you expect us to do? Have this information and sit on it? Of course you have to sit on it. The appropriate thing, if you think the information should go out earlier, is to influence those that are in power to call the parliament early and table the report. It's not to break the law. And they were okay with breaking the law because they justified that in their minds, even after they were reminded by the Integrity Commission. And these are the same people who say that a man whose conviction has been squashed should not appear on a stage. He wasn't a presenter at the conference, and he's an entertainer. And he appeared there. And he said, I am here because I associate with the views that these people are expressing, and Mark Golin will make it clearer. That's what he said.
Right.
We also had Richard Corrider, who said, I am no longer accepting the things that I cannot change. I am changing the things that I cannot accept. Because they have been trying to get in touch with the government. They've been trying to have dialogue with the government. Government has not been engaging them. The PNP believes in dialogue, not monologue. We believe that we must engage and not enrage. We think the only way to get consensus is through consultation. You have to incorporate people and listen to them. When we go into government, we want to sit down with you to find out what we can do for the entertainment industry. What can we do to make things better? for people who are in the creative space. It is through our development of those areas that people like Aditya Palmer and Popcorn and Bounty and all of those people have broken the chains of intergenerational poverty. We have, the government has to generate an environment so that people from different levels of the society can have ownership to the country that they are in and be somebody. It is what Michael Manley talk about, the somebodyness, that no matter where you come from, you must be able to become somebody. That's why I say I don't like the idea of being a second-class citizen in the next country. I stay where I come from.
What were the things that you talked to Vybz Kartel about? Because maybe, of course, there should have been conversation and dialogue with him beyond the conference scene. So you talk about I guess his goal is about prison reform and I guess like, changing or societal, conflict resolution, whatever the case may be. So I'm just trying to find out what were some of the things that you engage with Kartel about, and like what are the things that you think from a policy perspective that the PNP can
Right.
do?
So I spoke to him. First, I expressed that I was happy that he's out. I'm happy for my black brother that him come out of prison.
So if he was brown?
I'm happy for my brother. Right? I don't play race. I
You just
to
said
what
black.
he is, because he is.
Okay.
I would be happy
At least he
for my brother.
might get back there.
If he was white, I'd be happy for my white brother.
Okay.
I just said that based on what he is.
Yeah.
I'm happy for my brother because he's out. I told him I was happy for his children
Yeah.
because I know that it must have been difficult for them. I told him that I want for him to stay out of trouble and be a positive influence on the society. And he agreed. And I have no reason to doubt him. I believe wholeheartedly, that he has a vital role to play in shaping the minds of these youngsters in a positive direction.
You're not wrong.
He already has their attention. He can guide them in a positive direction. If somebody does not go to church, they cannot be converted unless they're hearing the word somewhere, whether it's in the physical building or somewhere. That's why I said to you at the beginning that it was important to get the attention of people because you cannot communicate to people unless they're hearing you. It's not just what you say. They have to be hearing you. You have to have their attention. He has the attention of the people. So you want to use him to direct the people in a positive direction.
So this is the last time we're going to see Kartel on the PNP trail in terms of campaigning election time.
Vybz Kartel is a free man who can support the political party of his choice. If Vybz Kartel was a Labourite, he would be at the Labour Party conference in November. He would be. The only reason he's not there is because he's not a Labourite.
It's true. No, that's not like. So are we going to see more? Because again, my thing is, we've never seen him before in the being engaged in the political process before. So I just want to know, like, really and truly, are we going to see more of it? I have no problem.
His focus now is on his show.
Okay.
Which there's some of the same people who are complaining
Will be
stayed
at.
up all night to get a ticket and
I
paid a lot
think
of
you
money
are
for
not
it.
wrong. Hypocrites. Lots of them are. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah.
Will you be there at his
Where?
Freedom Street?
You have a ticket them?
No, I
Him
don't.
said him not give no free ticket.
I
too,
don't.
According to Scatter.
No, I
free
believe in
tickets.
supporting.
Okay,
So I wouldn't be looking for a free
which
ticket.
tier?
No, I didn't get a ticket.
No, which tier would you buy?
Oh, if I was going?
If you have to go and support your comrade brother, you have to be there. So which tier, and can you buy two?
I'd have to go and review it.
What I wanted to ask you though was, why is it that it seems that the PNP has forged or formed an alliance with Richard Curry and not other Maroon leaders?
No.
You would want to seem that way.
It's not, no. I'm being honest when I say this. We believe that you have to engage all members of the society. That's the only way you're going to transform the society is by engaging. If you leave people behind, right, they're going to go wayward. They're going to do the things that are not good for the society. If you want people to do what is acceptable societal norms, you have to engage them in that process. Even Bible says you have 7 brothers, 7 different minds. So it is expected that people will think and operate in a different way.
Yeah.
If you want them to conform to a certain system, you have to engage them into that system. If you just leave them, there's no way. Even animals, if you're growing animals, if you have goats and you're bringing them home, if you don't have somebody directing them, one run gone over there, one run gone over there, that's just how living things are. You have to engage them and bring them in, right?
But there was engagement.
Right. So we engage all of these persons. We engage persons within the entertainment industry, within the cultural industry, indigenous people, because their issues are real. And in living up to our motto, out of many, we are one. We have to engage that. We have to engage all of these different persons and allow them to feel that this is their Jamaica.
But you know what's funny, Dr. Campbell? Prior to Mr. Curry's rise in popularity, it always felt like the Maroons were a part of Jamaican society. They were Jamaicans, but since Mr. Curry's ascension, it almost feels as if like they're trying to separate Maroon, and then it's like asking the government now, the leader of the government, to engage with somebody who's trying to separate, almost like want a secession from Jamaica. It would almost feel like engaging
somebody's trying to destabilize
the country. And like, why would you want to engage with somebody like that?
No, I don't think so. And even if that were to be the case, in order for you to get them to amend that position, it's still through engagement.
True.
So I don't see a solution being arrived at without engagement and dialogue. And that's why I keep on saying that, right? So my understanding is that there are certain rights that are given to indigenous people anywhere. So the Indians in the States, they have certain rights.
True.
Right? The Maroons, obviously, their history is known.
Right.
So they should have certain rights as well. Now, that discussion, that dialogue as to how you protect those rights is what a government should engage in, right? With a view to come to a consensus so that we can cohabitate.
It seems like they want to have a completely different discussion in regards to being sovereign.
But negotiation starts like that. So people start out with a point as to what they are putting on the table, and then you have a discussion and you come to a middle ground, right? So I just think that the government of the day has to engage them.
So what is the PNP offering them?
To have open dialogue.
All right, no problem.
What do you say to the people that looked at the conference and, of course, the big news items, Vybz Kartel, LLUsh, Richard Curry, PNP is a party of gimmicks? What do you say to the people them that have that point of view? It was a lot to really fling at the people them at one time, like LLUsh, Vybz Kartel. So, popcorn.
Well, the first thing is that I would tell them not to refer to their brothers and sisters as gimmicks. I would tell them to refer to them as Jamaicans who have found something that they can identify with. We're the People's Party. We are welcoming to different persons, regardless of race, regardless of size, regardless of gender, regardless of skin color, and all of those things, regardless of class. We are the People's Party, right? We believe in equality and access to opportunity, egalitarianism. So regardless of who the person is in the society, they can have a home within the PNP. We then have some guiding principles and philosophy that guides us, that we want our members, our supporters to adhere to, right? So they are important things for us. Our founding tenets: egalitarianism, equality and access to opportunity, social justice, integrity, right, which is right now questionably in the leadership of the country at this point in time, nationalism, putting the interests of the nation above self, and participatory governance, where we have dialogue with people.
I think we can agree on that one.
True. So, I guess we're shifting into the final point. So you want to go back into representational politics because in 2020, you said that you were done with it. And that
I was done?
Yeah, you were tired. You were
never
tired.
Said that.
Or that was the article. Well, let me read it back for you, because it could have said these representatives dedicate time to post of General Secretary, right? Yes. Well, you're focusing or putting all your focus into the party itself. So since then, since your focus and being elected as General Secretary in the party, have you seen like a shift in terms of like the unity? Because that was a major issue in the party. Like, is there more of a unified party now? You cited a lack of funds while you lost your third term in St. Anne as to be the MP there.
Right. So one of the things coming out of the conference is also that person said that Mark Golding has managed to unite the party. Right. That has also been something that was said. And that was based on the participation in the conference, the persons that spoke at the conference, just the look and feel of it, the party is pulling in the same direction. So when I took over as General Secretary, the PNP was 16 points behind in the opinion polls. We're now 7 points ahead That is a tremendous turnaround in a matter of 2.5 years, 3 years. Again, because persons might view me as the loudmouth on the political platform, they don't pay attention to the strategic mind and the tactician that is there. They don't pay attention to those things at all.
You like that though?
What's that?
So that don't pay attention to
I do. Because you can't beat a man that you underestimate. You can't, right? It's always going to surprise you. So we've done a lot in terms of just trying to get the party together to ensure that everybody can find a space within the party, that their interest is protected, and that, you know, we can unite the leadership and the supporters around a common goal and a common vision. And I think we have been able to successfully do that. In February, a lot of persons thought we couldn't compete in the local government election. We won 115 of the 228 divisions to the JP 113. And they had 130 before. And we got 20,000 more votes than they did. And that was the third local government election for the Prime Minister. And in none of those previous elections did he poll the number of votes that Mark Golding has polled. So I think the issue as to whether or not Mark Golding can compete and campaign, that has been laid to rest. People now see him as a bona fide leader of the party that can compete in an election. People now see the PNP as a real option. He was able to outline on Sunday, amongst the noise that was there, he was able to outline a slew of policy positions that the party would undertake, including the Porsche initiative, that would revitalize the society. And as I spoke to some of them earlier, that are important in transforming the society. So I think that the PNP is now in a position where we just need now to tie down the organization in some of the constituencies to ensure that when the elections are called, we have 32 seats that we cannot lose. We have more than 32 that we can win, but you know, it's just to set the number above that we cannot lose.
And donors who are very instrumental in winning elections, have you regained their confidence?
We have.
Yeah.
People are going to pick the winner, you know.
Yeah.
People are going to pick the winner. So once you put the party in a position that shows that you have a good possibility of winning, you look at the crowd at the conference. You know, that mobilization, it takes some effort.
True.
And persons have to come on board to assist with that, for that to happen. So I'm not concerned at this time about those issues that were plaguing our minds 3 years ago. At this point, we are more concerned about how do we transform the society? How do we put forward practical solutions for the complex problems that are affecting the country so that people can buy into what we are saying and become a part of it, and that different segments of the society can hear their voices being represented when we speak and their issues being addressed. So obviously you have the main issues: crime, education, healthcare, agriculture, those other things, infrastructure. I mean, the road network is terrible across the country. The unemployment issue, the government says that unemployment is at its lowest, but they don't speak about the 700,000 people of employment age that are not seeking employment. That's why when you do polls, unemployment, especially youth unemployment, still comes up as an issue, because there are people that determine that it's better for them to stay home than to work. A youngster up in Darliston or in Betheltown, in the constituency of Eastern Westmoreland that I represent, for them to go to Negril to a hotel work, the transportation and lunch alone would take up all of what they earn. So they decide.
So they would rather not earn.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be speak to them as an individual?
I don't know if we can ask somebody to go in a position that you're working and you're in a negative, you're working poor. They're gonna seek a different option for themselves.
Okay. Why not vie back for St. Ann Northwestern, where you were 2-term MP? Why not go back there?
You know, change is good, you know.
What I mean? You were in for 2 terms, 10 years.
Remember say tie back into the old team now, you know.
Okay.
Change is good, man.
Time come, okay.
I've settled in Westmoreland. You know,
you're not the MP yet for no. So you're vying to be the MP.
Right.
Okay. So how have you seen, like, you know, the support there?
Support is good. I mean, in the local government election, we won all 4 divisions in the constituency. when you add up the votes who won the constituency by almost 3,000 votes. So, it's a constituency that has supported the party over the years. It is the seat that was represented by former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson. We lost it by 8 votes in the last election, or 11 in the recount. So it's a constituency that has been faithful, that has a lot of potential, has a lot of industrious people, independent people, farmers that are, just want an opportunity. And I think I've expressed a vision to them that they've bought into, that we're here to assist them, to develop them, to make tomorrow better than today in terms of housing, road, water, land titling, education, agriculture, youth and community development. And I think they've bought into that idea. And I think it will be a better place for me having been there when I'm finished.
Okay.
Give thanks for taking the time out to talk to us, Dr. Campbell. One last question. I feel like this whole thing will, or do you have a fear that the whole cartel, conference thing will backfire in a way?
Not at all.
As maybe it could piss off donors who really have the cheddar in the coffee.
No, I don't think so. As I said, people have expressed concern. We want to engage those persons that have expressed the concern. It's about 2% that is expressing the concern. 98% are over the moon.
How you calculate this?
Based on speaking to the persons and the interaction, like WhatsApp groups and those other things. Just looking at.
Oh, so you just gave an arbitrary number?
No, man. No, literally, the number of persons in there that you see would have seen, and we've checked. I told you that we've checked.
Yeah.
So I'm evidence based on data driven. I am.
Is this within PNP circles, or you find it to be the general consensus?
I think the general consensus, what you saw in the arena when he came on the stage, but the people at the conference are a microcosm of the society. So I think what you saw in the arena is a normal reaction in the society. You do have persons who will express reservations, having the conversation with those persons that we think he should be engaged.
I totally agree. I think that, as a private citizen above all things, because he's a citizen of the country, and I feel like our main issue overall is that we have too much apathy and we can't be so apolitical. So to whatever side of the aisle you choose, just choose a side. Yes. Because ultimately you have to do your research, find out where you stand, where each party stand, and if it is in your ideal interest. And above two, don't be dire at nothing, because if the government not working now, get them out, get the other one. So it's just that should be the case.
Knight said something today.
Yeah.
KD Knight said something today that I want to attribute to him and quote. He said that if we were to have a meeting now, we wouldn't be able to recognize all our members, because we've gotten a lot of new members who were previously not with us.
Okay.
So we are welcoming of all persons who want to come. Those who were apolitical before, those who decided to give Bro God a chance before and have decided that, oh God, we can't continue with this, they're welcome on board.
Can you name Bro God? Him shed the name.
It's no, oh God. Oh God, time hard.
Politics. You love the politics, though. I feel like that's why you never want to leave Jamaica, because you love politics. PJ, was he a mentor or something? Was he a mentor?
He's a mentor to most of us.
Yeah.
He's an astute politician.
Yeah, he is, for real. No, he is. I know I can see it, especially even how you act, like you love the politics.
It's the only thing, though. Politics is the only thing that you can use to transform the society.
True.
Right? So when people say they don't want to be engaged in it,
no,
but even God would have to use ban.
Yeah.
Right? So to change the way the health sector work, the education sector work, to change the way the economy is structured, how much taxes we pay, the type of taxes we pay, just the environment that we live in. It's politics.
Yeah.
So
and politics,
civic groups have a role to play.
Yeah.
Churches, others have a role to play, but the real policy direction comes from politics. So
absolutely.
People should engage in it.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I hate. I don't like apathy in terms of like, oh, I'm not sure they're, but like, no, like, yes, there are two evils, but one is a lesser evil, or one just have more of your evil.
Sometimes we don't get everything right, but I don't think we're evil. We start out from a point of trying to do good. Do you have some members who run a foul? Do you have people go outside? Yes, at times. But as an organization, we start out to do good.
Yeah.
Give thanks again, Dr. Campbell.
Blessings.
Taking time to speak to us. I really appreciate it. Whenever somebody from either aisle falls on the platform and if we talk to us and make the people know what they're about and what, their party is about. You know what I mean? We don't take it lightly. Where can the people follow you on social media?
I think it's Dayton Campbell at whatever it is. It's at Dayton Campbell.
Whatever it is.
It's at Dayton Campbell.
I'm sure your social media managers are.
It's Dr. Dayton Campbell on Facebook, Dr. Dayton Campbell on Instagram, and same thing on
TikTok. You on TikTok?
Yeah.
You do your dance on TikTok?
No, I'm not. I'm a preacher, not a dancer.
You're a preacher.
That's your ministry.
Yes. I know my skill set and I stick to it.
Yep. Excellent.
Funny enough, politician and preacher.
There's a healthy marriage.
All right, people. Dr. Dayton Campbell. How to fix now with that?
Yep.
Yeah.